today, and I'm here with Chris Miller, who's a legend sound engineer. He's mixing front of house for Neck Deep in Issues. It's nice to see you.
Yeah, you too, man. Happy to be here.
So Chris has been out with Neck Deep in Europe as well. How's that all gone?
It's been great. I've worked for Neck Deep a few times before this. There was a tour a couple years ago where the band that I've been working for the last 4 years or so, State Champs, was on a co-head with them.
Okay.
And I did front of house for them in Australia and Japan, and I've done monitors for them a few times since. But so they're great guys, and they're a good band, and it's been really, really easy. It's like pretty much a whole new crew on this one. So it's been super smooth. So
good. So in terms of your start in this industry, how did you get into it? What was your first gig, is it? Or,
yeah, right. I'm a guitar player, so I've really never done anything for money but sound and guitar. So when I was 20, I met this guy, Josh Manuel, who now plays drums in Issues, and I played guitar at his studio for all the country and pop stuff that they did.
Cool.
And we kind of became friends, and at the time when I wasn't playing guitar, I was working at a church and where I learned how to do audio, and I would do some venue stuff every now and again. And when they expanded and wanted a monitor guy, they asked me if I wanted to do it. I had absolutely no idea what I was doing, but I did, and figured it out, kind of thing. I did monitors for one tour for them, and ended up doing front of house for State Champs for about 4 years after that. Cool. And so it's really great to be back doing stuff with Issues, because they're like some of my best friends. Yeah,
that's nice.
So that's great. Nice. Yeah.
Obviously, as your career's grown and developed, has there been any particular highlights for you, like standout moments, or?
Main stage Reading was a big one for me. This obviously is sick. Doing two white bands at Wembley is a big deal for me. I've gotten to do some short runs on bigger stuff. I worked for a country guy that we did a Luke Bryan tour. They ended up doing the Atlanta Falcons basketball stadium. That was really cool. And I got to mix a band called Capital Cities. They're like a pop band from the U.S. And we did a Duran Duran tour, which was really sick.
Nice. Lots of screaming people at that one.
Yeah, right. That's sick. Really fun. But yeah, obviously this is fantastic.
Yeah, it should be a great show tonight. Yeah.
I'm really stoked about being here.
So I think this is the first time you've used the Hill rig. How have you found it?
It's surprisingly thick for what it looks like. Which, you walk into a room and you see it and you're like, there's 8-inch drivers in that thing, and you're like, I don't know if my snares and guitars are going to come out right. Yeah, but no, it's been great. It sounds great today, even in this super big boomy room. It sounds really great. And yesterday, where were we? Motor Point in Nottingham. And that was the best sounding show of the tour. Which, it's sick when you see something that size and you get in a bigger room and it sounds better, and you're like, oh, it's great.
Obviously I was at the show last night, and I really liked your kick drum for Issues.
Okay.
And I just wondered if there's any secrets you have, or is any hints and tips you want to, or maybe you don't want to give any of your things away.
No, I have no secrets.
I just wondered what your approach was though.
Well, it's a little bit different on D-Live than it is on most things, because D-Live you have a parallel path on everything, right? Compressors and then even on inserts and stuff, you can those transient controllers that you can parallel those. Mm-hmm. So I'm doing that. I'm paralleling a transient controller on kick in, and then on kick out I have the sub synthesizer. Okay. Mm-hmm. And it slams. It sounds sick.
Cool.
That, and Josh just being a really good drummer, but it's mostly that.
Makes a lot of difference, doesn't it?
I love parallel compression. I do that all the time, so it's
nice.
Sick.
Obviously, we've all started somewhere, and I know there are lots of guys out there who are interested maybe to know if any hints or tips you've got for them as they're starting out in their career. Is there anything that you could recommend they would do, or any hints?
I think the biggest thing for me was if you try to force something to be something that it isn't, then you're gonna end up going down rabbit holes that you can't get out of all the time. Okay. So if you're playing with if you're mixing a drummer and the kit is dark and you try to make it bright, then it's not gonna work. Just let it be dark. If you let it be what it is and kind of let it sit where a dark kit would sit on a record or or with a band, then you don't end up fighting with yourself so much. And I feel like I see a lot of people that like mixing vocals, and they're just doing so much stuff, and they have like 3 inserts and like multi-bands and like 3 different EQs and like a graph, and it's like just back out, put gain on it, put a little bit, you know what I mean? Like if you just kind of like a really smart guy designed this, you know, and so if you just let it be what it is, then you'll end up having a lot easier time.
So in a sense, you kind of like, you mean like really listen to the band, capture is what they're doing, and then try and work with that.
Don't try to make a band sound like you.
Yeah, okay.
Try to make the band sound like them. Yeah, and like usually what they give you is what they want to sound like, because they're spending time at home. Yeah. They buy drum kits that sound like what they want to sound like, and guitars and guitar amps that sound like what they want to sound like.
Another thing I know on this tour is been the same, and I'm sure it's still so many times, and festivals in particularly. But do you have any particular things you do when you have limited sound checks, or maybe even no sound checks? You know, is there any particular thing that you go for in the first song, or?
Well, I've used the same like tuning song pretty much every day since I started doing this, and I realized probably not the best one to use. Like everybody uses. It seems like sound guys always use the same ones, you know.
Like
and mine is not what anybody else uses. But CLA mixed it, and I think it sounds good. And like if being comfortable, I think is the biggest thing. When you're in a room like this and it's just really reverberant, and like you know that people are gonna get in. Guitars kind of always are all over the place in sound check, and then you get to the gig and you're like, oh, where all my guitar goes, and you have to push all the guitars way up. So like. I think
so sound checks isn't always helpful anyway.
Right, yeah. So just trusting yourself and like be like, oh, I had a good show yesterday, so just make sure all the lines are there and it sounds basically normal, and then just trust yourself. Okay. We've had that situation a couple times on this. Yesterday, I think we got the stage 20 minutes before doors for neck deep. Yeah. So I had 20 minutes to get neck deep backline and issues line checked before doors. Yeah. And so I didn't hear the PA like at all for either band really. But it was great. It was the best show I had the whole tour. So that, and I mean, you know, the PA is good and the system tech is great, and you know,
Lee is
he is great. Yeah, he is very good, and that helps a lot too. That's something I'm gonna miss when we go back to the States. Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks so much.
Yeah,
it's really nice
thanks
to talk
for talking to me, man.
That's cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Yeah.